Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
So with 51 days to go, countdown clock at the ready, let's talk about Europe. One interesting thing to note, this is a campaign with some strange bedfellows, and thank God, you may say, since a lot of MPs clearly can't bear the sight of colleagues in their own party.
Is David Cameron calling?
Together.
We stand divided.
We fall. Come on.
No, people, let's get on.
And work together. Come on, come on.
Let's work together. There are lots of things we disagree about, but the fact is we all come together to support the idea of Britain staying in a reformed European Union.
I care about getting back control of this country, and quite frankly, I'll work with pretty much anybody. My supporters, some of them will say, gosh, how can you work with George Galloway? On this fundamental question, we agree.
I would, but I'm conscious of time, I'm afraid. I'm driving, yeah.
I don't know whether you and Peter Bone is stranger than you and George Galloway, but that's a bit of an insider Westminster point, perhaps. George Galloway, you feel totally comfortable with?
Well, no, it's awkward. He's a teetotaler, and I find that very, very difficult to mix with people like that. Look, you know, the idea, I mean, 40 years ago, it was the left that was worried about the European project, thought it would become run by bankers and big corporatists. Well, as it turns out, they were right. And now we look at it and we think, oh, being a Eurosceptic means that you're on the right. Actually, the issue of whether we're a self-governing democratic nation is not left or right, and I'm happy to work with people right across the spectrum to get back control of our country so that we can have proper arguments with each other about what we do, about trade union policy, about wages, about trade policy.
Last week, Ian Duncan Smith was sitting in that chair right there, and he said he wanted to ban Marine Le Pen from coming to this country if she comes. Are you happy to share a stage with her?
I don't want to share a stage with her, but if we're a country that wants to ban somebody from coming who is odds-on favourite to win the first round of the French presidential elections next year, we must need our bumps felt. You know, whether you like people or not, you shouldn't ban them. Bumps,
yeah.
you know.
Okay.
You know. I mean,
I thought you said something else.
What are we doing? Trying to ban people? Surely, you know.
But you said you'd share a stage with anyone. So where do you draw the line?
Well, yeah, but she is not a British politician, so I don't need to, do I? I mean, the point is, we had the BNP 10 years ago, who were rising, and many people said, keep them out of the media, exclude them from programmes, ban them. Actually, putting them on programmes exposed Nick Griffin for what he was and the BNP for what they are, and it destroyed them. Let people speak, and intelligent people, will make their own minds up.
Zoe, are you finding the strange bedfellows somewhat?
Strange bedfellows. I think the problem from the Remain side is that there would be very strange bedfellows making very different cases, except that the kind of progressive case for Europe isn't really being made. So we're hearing an awful lot about why it's bad for the economy if we left Europe, and why it would be bad for the global economy and how it would be destabilising. But we're not hearing very much about, you know, this being a kind of mass cooperative, beautiful project which you could rediscover the beauty in if you were minded, and how walking off would be the last way to do that. So actually, I would like to see more weird bedfellows. I would like to see the kind of left, you know, the Caroline Lucases, who really make a kind of hopeful, visionary case for Europe, sharing more platforms with David Cameron. I think the thing is that the Britain Stronger In don't really want the crazy lefties.
And not to bring Jeremy Corbyn back into it, but is that partly his fault that hasn't been made?
Is it his fault? I mean, the problem, I think, is that they're not wild about Europe in that kind of hardcore for exactly that reason, that, you know, the last time this happened in '75, most proper lefties were anti-Europe.
But Corbyn was an outer this time last year.
Yeah, exactly.
He went to meet the Labour MEPs in Brussels and told them in a private meeting, basically, he thought the whole thing was a complete shower, totally undemocratic, and he would never support it. And he's been forced, actually, on this one issue, the party has forced him to speak against his conscience.
David, what do you make of the sight of all these people on a stage together?
I've been on this show before and sort of made this point, but as far as with Brexit and Remain, my main issue is that I know Bruck all about it. And the problem is that I think most people don't really understand the key issues here, because you have to read trade deals and, you have to know about economic borders and all sorts of things. I think for most people are essentially very dull. So what happens is, and it's happening now, is that people instead trust on the personalities. Yeah. They think, I will vote depending on who I basically like. So on one side, you've got Nigel and George Galloway and Ian Botham and Joan Collins and Ian Duncan Smith. So that's quite a strange team to begin with, quite an odd lineup. But then on the
interesting
other side,
TV show, isn't it? But,
it's a great celebrity Big Brother, I'll be honest with you. But on the other side, what you've got like David Cameron and Jeremy Corbyn supposedly on the same side. And so it's very hard to know. I mean, talking about Galloway, you just came out very strongly against what state the Labour Party are in, but of course he's been defending Ken Livingstone all week.
Oh, yes, of course. He is very much from that fringe of politics. The point is the issue...
Is it all right, though, Nigel, to take one thing, take one element of one person's personality and say, it doesn't matter about anything else, I'll be with him on this?
You've just said that you find it difficult to look at trade deals, economics and everything else. Actually, this referendum is really simple. It is, do we wish to be a self-governing, democratic nation or part of a bigger club in which we have very little say over our own future?
This is a great moment to bring... This is a great moment to bring in Miriam. OK, let's bring in Miriam. What's your view on that?
I suppose what I'd say on this is that, I live in Scotland, so I've been here before. Extraordinary bedfellows in a referendum, and you look at it and you see people who agree with each other on almost nothing, sitting together on a platform being either a unionist or a separatist. Now, what happened there was it made it incredibly difficult for any of these groups to then present a vision of the future. And I think we're seeing that happen with the Brexit debate as well, because what's happening is that we're seeing very little debate or conversation even about what our membership of the EU is actually for.
Yeah.
So if you have people from the left and from the right sitting on the same platform, people who are capitalist and anti-capitalist on the same platform, nobody can come out and say, I believe we are in the EU for economic reasons, for political reasons, for defence reasons, and prevent this great vision of the future that people apparently want to see. So it becomes very confusing and very difficult for people to make rational decisions when everyone feels hamstrung by trying not to argue with the guy sitting next to them who they really loathe. Not you, David, I'm not fond of you. But,
you weren't pointing at me.
I was pointing at you, but I noticed immediately. So, it makes it very difficult for people to choose, and then they end up going with simply what they feel is best for them.
Do you think the Brexiteers have not made a positive case and have not been able to make a clear case economically for leaving?
I think it's very hard to do, because when you're making a case for leaving Brexit, you can't pin down numbers. Of course, you can't either way. Everything is supposition for the future. So whether you're making a pro or an anti-case economically, it's all imagination. Both cases are imagination. So you can't do either way. When you're doing a Brexit argument, what you're doing is you're trying to guess a counterfactual. What might have happened and what might happen.
George Osborne's figures were obviously completely accurate.
No, they were total nonsense. Everyone knows they were total nonsense. And so were the OECD numbers. So they're all nonsense, because they're all guesswork.
But your view is that we can economically prosper outside. Is that your view, or you think that we will suffer, but it's worth going?
We absolutely can. I can't see it'll make much difference either way. I mean, the honest truth is that if you go back to the Scottish referendum briefly, it was very easy to do then to say what would be good and what would be bad, because we were in a political union, a fiscal union, and a monetary union, Scotland and the rest of the UK together. So it was easy to look at it and say, well, this will be a total disaster if you come out of it, because there are these great bonds to break, 300-year bonds to break. With the European Union, what do we have? A trade deal and a power regulation. We've got no political union, we've got no monetary union, we've got no fiscal union. There are very few chords to break here. So when you look at it, you're just looking at well, nothing, really.
David, what do you think will decide it in the end?
I just wanted to ask Nigel something, which is there a tiny part of you, Nigel, that wants us to remain? Because if we exit, you haven't got a job.
Great.
Have you?
Great.
It's over.
Well,
it's over. Because you're so monothematic.
I am the turkey that'll vote for Christmas.
OK, can I ask you one thing? If we don't vote for Christmas, what does that mean? Will you be quiet for a while, dare I ask? Or not that I should ever suggest a politician...
very well behaved. Look, I was in business for 20 years. I haven't come through the same route as most people in politics. I got into politics because I felt fundamentally our relationship with Europe was wrong and needed to be changed. If we were to vote in a referendum to remain, would I accept that? Would I be happy with that? No.
But would that settle the issue for a decade at least?
Well, it may settle it for a long time. However, look, the way I think of it is this. If we vote for Brexit, we're going to get off the train, If we vote to remain, we'll be on the train when it hits the buffers. The European project, high-minded as it may have been years ago, isn't working. The economics of it aren't working, the euro's a disaster, and the migrant crisis has led to tensions now between countries and within countries. So actually, you know, even if we don't take this opportunity, and I hope we do, the issue will never go away.
Zoe, can I just ask you,
Yes.
what do you think will decide it in the end? We're narrowing down. We've got only just over 50 days.
That's a really good question. When the Brexiteers first started, they were painting a dream, right? They were painting this real kind of bucolic, we're going to go back to a better time when we were self-governing, when every decision we wanted was immediately made because we had this kind of umbilical relationship with our representatives. And then that just really went sour, and I don't know who you would blame for the souring of it, but it did go sour, and now it's turned into very much a fear-based case, and the Inns have always been making a fear-based case. You know, be afraid, be very afraid. If you do this, you're going to make a kind of economic fist of it. I think the worry is that when both sides are making a fear-based case, people just don't turn up to vote. You know, nobody... You'll vote if you have to for a fear case, but if both sides are making it,
that
then...
helps Brexit. That helps Brexit.
But one of the things
that's what I'm worried about.
One of the things that motivates people, or can motivate people, is a TV debate.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where are we on the TV debates?
Well,
possibly not including you because you're not the official Leave campaign.
Yeah,
or?
and of course I'm UKIP, so I'm outside and not really very acceptable. I mean, look, you know, if you have.
Sorry, is that your official view?
Well, I've been told to think.
Heard it here first.
No, I mean, look, if we have, you know, either on ITV or BBC.
ITV.
Well, both will have debates, and if we have debates and UKIP were excluded, that would, frankly, to most people, I think, look quite ridiculous.
So how do you think a realistic debate format looks, and who should be included on it? I mean, is David Cameron going to take part in your view? Who should take part?
I think he's got to. I mean, he's the guy that's selling us this so-called deal.
But he says he's not going to do a blue-on-blue debate. Is that right?
Well, fine, I'll debate him. Fine, no problem.
So hang on a sec, who would blue on blue be?
What does it mean?
Blue on blue will be a
Him
cabinet
and
minister.
Boris, possibly.
I thought it was a sexual thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
That's after the break. What do you...
So yeah, I mean, obviously I'd happily debate him. Let's see, but I just don't think, particularly if you have a panel debate, you know, towards the end of the campaign, I think if UKIP were excluded, that would look ridiculous.
Have you had an invitation?
No, I don't think anybody do anything really. It's just the way it is.
This is really sad.
Is this you inviting him?
No, I just was interested to know. I've nothing to do with it. David, what do you think a TV debate should look like? I mean, do you spend any time...
I'm still thinking about blue on blue,
yeah.
I'm afraid. I don't know. I would really like, you see, to have some of the bedfellows all there. I would like you and George Galloway to have to be arguing together, and the cracks start to appear, because they surely would, wouldn't they?
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't?
No, because we both say we believe in democracy. We believe we should vote for governments that make laws and be able to sack them, and to have a European Commission having the sole right to make legislation that affects our lives is simply wrong.
What if someone said, Nigel, what do you think of George's hat that he wears all the time because he's bald? What would you say then?
I'd be in trouble.
OK, speechless. There we are. Merrin, if you had to pick a Brexit team, who would you pick? Who is the most effective? Who are the most effective spokespeople for Brexit, in your view?
Oh, interesting.
And who would you most fear on the other side?
I tell you what I'd get on, actually, would be a lot of small business people. I would get on entrepreneurs and small buessmen to explain what it is
But
that makes them...
entrepreneurs are overwhelmingly
No,
Remain.
no,
They
they're not.
really are. They're
They're
70%
not.
Remain.
No.
Honestly, I've seen especially
the
tech
corporates, Zoe.
entrepreneurs.
The corporates are involved.
Big corporates and the small corporates.
Am I allowed to bring in the fact that your family is not entirely united on the...
Well, I think that's right. You know,
Yeah.
I think I've got a son who works for one of the corporates, and he's being told, you know, you must vote to remain part of this, otherwise terrible things will happen. But the real division is
Does
this.
this mean you do discuss it at Sunday lunch, or
No,
you avoid
no. It's
discussing
best
it?
not.
Yeah.
Politics is best left out.
So
of
it's
it
just like
completely.
every other family Sunday lunch table in Britain at the moment, basically.
I mean, well, I think we're all a bit divided.
Nowhere else is talking about it, really. It's just Nigel's house.
No, they are.
Yeah.
But this idea, entrepreneurs, people
Seriously, they've got the numbers, but
people who've taken risk.
Yeah.
Set up their own businesses.
Are 70,
are
80%
strongly
in favour of
in
Remain.
favour
We-
of leaving.
There are an awful lot
It's
of
the
people.
corporate.
We have this-
It's the other way around.
We
Yeah,
have
we
this
could probably
tradition
put
that we
arguments
always
till
keep
death, right?
talking about Europe into the break, so let's keep doing it this time.
I've been